Welcome to Escape This Podcast, a show that is normally full of tabletop role-playing and escape room puzzles, but today, because we're sort of past the end of the season, is an unstructured talk about escape room movie stuff. We are not currently writing an escape room movie.
Well, you never know where we'll end up with in this episode.
Oh, that's fair.
That's kind of the point. We're talking about what is out there and what isn't out there and really should be.
Yes, that's true. Now, I will say, I feel like when it comes to talking about like escape room movies, I have a vague cultural osmosis of what they are without any real experience.
But we've never actually watched any of them.
No, I've never seen.
That's for a very good reason.
Because they all look like horror movies.
They're all horror movies. And I like reading scripts of horror movies, but I don't enjoy watching them very much.
It is an interesting thing that, like, when people have decided, like, when people have made attempts to go, like, this is an escape room movie, they do immediately go straight to, and you'll die in the real life. If you die in the escape room, you die in real life. But is that just because that's all you can do? What would you envision if you were like, I want to pitch an escape room movie to someone who had the power to make one? What would you envision as a different way to do it? What are the stakes, etc.?
It's interesting because on our Patreon, we did a thing where we reacted to various TV shows' depictions of escape rooms.
Yes, we've done a lot of reactions to episodes of sitcoms and
none of them have been horror.
No, none of them have. They've mostly just been a fun excuse to go to an escape room and then just be at an escape room.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes the escape room was incidental, sometimes it was very important to the theme, but either way, it contributed and you could always build a story and characters around it that didn't need to have the stakes of death.
Yeah, that's true. Could you do basically like a little a movie that is set with the same tone of like you'll go into an escape room and then it's just a funny place to be, effectively.
Can you check, I don't know, IMDb or whatever, just for escape room movies and see what sort of variety shows up? Because I'm assuming not much, but you never know.
You never know.
There's always 100 new Christmas movies a year. There might be a Christmas escape room movie.
All right, I've Googled IMDb escape room movies, and they've got escape room, Tournament of Champions, Cube.
Oh, Cube I know about.
Cube I feel like is like the classic escape room movie. Before escape rooms were a thing, it felt like they were doing Cube.
Yeah, to an extent it is very much, people are trapped in here. They don't know why they're trapped in here or how they got in here or who each other are. And if they accidentally do the wrong thing, they'll die. Which is okay. It's okay. That's sometimes my sort of thing. But
it's very like following on from what's kind of like a Saw sort of, you're in a room and the room might kill you. There's also this Panic Room, which I don't think that should count.
Definitely not.
It is interesting, I suppose, the difference between like a movie that is an escape room movie or a movie that could be like is basically an escape room, right? Like National Treasure could be an escape room movie, but not
just
really.
A caper sort of thing.
Yeah, just like solving puzzles that lead, like that could be an escape room.
Yeah, those are the sorts of things that people would, if they were ripping IPs, they would make something out of National Treasure for sure. That's true. But I definitely want something where an escape room is an important facet of the movie, but the stakes are not death. So I take it you're not having any luck finding anything like that?
No, not really. What's Escape Room Tournament of Champions?
That's just a sequel to one of the escape room death movies.
Yeah, it is a sequel to one of the escape room death movies.
So there's not one. If you add Christmas.
10 by 10, it's a psychological horror thrill. Horror thrill? You heard me. Thriller film. Christmas escape room movie.
I just want one happy poster. Just one.
There are Christmas-themed escape rooms. I don't need those. Like Merry Movie Christmas, which is a movie escape room, a Christmas movie-themed real escape room. There's no movie that is a Hallmark Christmas movie that is set in an escape room? Because that's kind of what you keep picturing, right? You're just like,
Why?
a small town girl has an escape room and it's being shut down by a big
How dare you simplify what I've been saying?
by a big corporate man, and he's like, I don't even understand puzzles, and then she teaches him the joy of puzzles.
It was actually weirdly never in my head in a time, like pictured a Christmas rom-com Hallmark style escape room movie. Never entered my head that it might be a woman who owned the escape room.
Oh, it's got to be the woman who owns. No, maybe she's a
That
big businesswoman.
definitely fits the Hallmarky sort of feel.
He's like the baker, he's the chef, he's the escape room owner.
Yeah, which
and then she learns the
is
value
a deliberate swap.
of puzzles.
But in general, I feel like happiness seems to be a thing missing from this genre.
Yeah, they're very like, if you must solve puzzles, the only stakes could be that failing to solve a puzzle will kill you.
Which honestly is a thing that real escape rooms have had to go through.
Also true, a lot of real escape rooms do the same thing.
And they default to horror and death first.
It's interesting. But I suppose it's because part of the problem is, doing an escape room, when you're actually doing the room, the conceit is usually, by solving these puzzles, you will save the world, or you'll find this guy, or you'll find the cure, or you'll uncover a secret, right? But because that's already the fiction, when you remove that layer of fiction and you acknowledge this is an escape room sort of idea, then all of what is usually like the impetus between doing the escape room in the real world obviously can't exist, because we all realize that that's a layer of fiction. So it's just left with, all right, so why would I care about these people really solving it? And the real answer is you solve it to have a bit of fun. But instead it's like, well, you can't just have a movie where people have a bit of fun. So instead the only stakes are, if they don't solve this right, they'll die. I sort of understand that reasoning.
I disagree. That's outrageously lazy. There are so many other things that you can do with it. Like the fact that there is no wiggle room between just having fun and dying.
Oh yeah, it's true. Like in other movies, like you can have a movie built around a wedding, and it doesn't need to be death wedding. It can just be if they get like if they don't get married, they'll die. It would be if they do get married, they'll be happy, and there are then personal dramas happening there.
Yeah, going with what stakes matter in a story and what don't. That's just up to the skill of writing. But some people really like to really generalize whether it means it's good or it's bad.
Yes, true.
This is essentially why chick lit ends up being called chick lit and being looked down upon, because it doesn't have life or death stakes in those sorts of ways. It has people stakes, and people roll their eyes at that.
Yes, yeah, true. Whereas if it's a good movie, people stakes is perfectly fine. All dramas are just people stakes. Now that's the question. Could you do a good, compelling drama in an escape room?
I don't see why not.
I feel it's just one of the things that escape rooms are fundamentally a bit silly. And so it's hard to avoid a little bit of silliness. But yeah, it's an interesting thought. Like I see why people always go to horror, but I also acknowledge probably just because like you're trying not to do really interesting writing, because you can do good writing in lots and lots of scenes where it is just people doing a pretty banal activity. If it's well written, that's compelling. It doesn't need to risk their lives.
So, like, what genre would you feel attached to if you're told, "Hey, make an escape room movie"?
I feel like
where would you want to go?
I don't know, because again, I wouldn't really want to hit too hard into just like too comedic, because when stuff's really comedic, it shouldn't be like a screwball comedy, because then it's like now it doesn't matter too much. I don't know what you do with an escape room. A real thriller where there's something important happening in this escape room. Well, you know that one of the people in this escape room did a murder, and as you do the escape room, you find out who it was.
Oh, there'd be a lot of remarkable coincidences going on in that escape room.
Oh, I can solve this puzzle because I know exactly what happens when a human being bleeds to death. I know this because of a documentary I watched. Yes, a documentary. That's how you set it up.
Well, it turns out that after you enter this code, the security camera in the room turns on and changes to right where it happened.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, I mean, like from a drama or a comedy drama kind of perspective, you end up with a bunch of people in a room who have to talk to each other, and that lets you deal with whatever weird human stuff is going on.
Yeah, too easy.
Is that sort of what you would be thinking if you were in the same?
I mean, there's inevitably going to be human drama going on. You can't
yeah,
have
it's a movie,
without
it's a
it.
story.
As the basis for it, yeah, sorta.
Let me read through some escape room bits. Here we go. Escape Room, the 2019 film.
Mhm.
This is one of the horror ones. It is an American psychological horror film. A group of people who are sent to navigate a series of deadly escape rooms. I guess
That's
just
it?
for fun.
That's the synopsis it gives.
6 people from varied backgrounds are presented with a puzzle cube. When they solve it, then they're invited to a $10,000 prize escape room.
Cool, it's the start of Glass Onion.
It's the start of Glass Onion. And then one of them tries to leave, and the door handle falls off, and the escape room's already begun in the lobby.
Yeah, it feels like Western. Like this is like Squid Game. It's like Western audiences discovering East Asian death game stories for the first time.
Yeah, it is just like none of it makes like it is nicer. You can make it a real escape room.
Again, but for all I know, the quality of this movie and what they have done with this idea is very good. We're just trashing ideas, not execution.
Yeah, who knows how well.
Maybe the executions throughout that movie are great.
Yeah, very good execution of the executions. But it's true, that's got to, and it's kind of started with Saw and all that other things of just like put a guy in a room, have it almost kill him. Nice. That's
Well,
fun.
Saw is an interesting one because Saw is an interesting one because the whole point of Saw is you're not meant to get out of them. You are meant to endure or die.
Yeah.
So it's not quite the same as these ones, which give the dopamine comes from solving or dying.
So here's a question: What things are you testing in an escape room in real life that become interesting character dynamics?
All right.
In a movie that has people in it.
Let's go with a pitch of a based on a true story thing. The man who broke into a place and then had to call the police on himself because he found himself stuck in an escape room and couldn't figure out how to get out.
Fair.
You said the panic room was on the list. There is a point in the movie Panic Room where the bad guys end up in the panic room and Jodie Foster is not in the panic room.
And they can't get out of the panic room.
Essentially, something similar along those lines. I think that you could absolutely have a group of shady people end up stuck in an escape room.
Fun. And then you have an escape room that they get stuck in an escape room and have to kind of solve it to get out.
Yeah.
I suppose part of presumably in real life, a lot of the reason he couldn't get out is that things just weren't turned on or stuff like that, rather than playing through it as normal. But it could be fun.
I think you could work with something like that. And of course, the only plausible deniability you'd have to work with is break wall down, break door down, things like that.
Kick down door.
There'd be ways to work with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very high-tech, fancy maglock escape room.
We've been in rooms where the exits were not immediately obvious or at a stretch visually available to us because things had changed, doors had moved and stuff like that, and we couldn't tell where the actual exit necessarily was.
True. And do you think that is a more interesting sort of idea than people who just they go to the escape room, they're there because they want to be, they're doing it, and it's just about what happens when they're in there?
I think some sort of external factor should be there as well, yes.
That's fair.
And honestly, I think that's high concept. That's easy to say in one sentence.
People get stuck in an escape room.
Yeah, people get stuck in an escape room doesn't say anything. If you say robbers try to break in but found themselves stuck in an escape room and now need to break their way out, that's very different.
Yeah, and there's some fun joy there.
Yeah,
there's people who are just like, okay, we got to solve this puzzle. I don't know how to solve puzzles. I rob banks. I don't know how to solve a puzzle. I've solved one puzzle, and it's how to shoot a person if they don't give me money.
Yeah, essentially, I'm visualizing it as slightly more capery Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, I like that. fun, ridiculous. Some of them don't like escape rooms. Some of them are like, no, I reckon I can do this. I'm smart. I know what I'm doing.
One of them is wearing a wire.
Yeah, the whole time they're wearing a wire.
Huh.
You test their ability to work together. And then they realize, oh, we're not working well together. You'll probably steal the money. And then they kill each other in a terrible bloodbath.
Yay.
Well, you said it was a caper. And all capers end in blood.
All right. So that's one. That's my one pitch.
That's one pitch. That could work.
Mhm.
That could work.
Pitch number 2.
Pitch number 2.
The FBI uses one really good escape room to test their potential recruits.
You always get that. That's a very common thread in life of like, oh, you want to be a spy? Solve this puzzle in the newspaper and you can be a spy.
Apparently, some of these things
And
are
apparently
real.
it is sometimes real. They'll recruit by putting out presumably when they do, surely that's mostly a publicity stunt. Although, do you need publicity stunt?
I don't
Publicity stunts when
know.
you're spies? Maybe you don't want publicity. You're spies. But yeah, that is
It is a terrible seeming job, like any other terrible job. They probably do run low on staff sometimes.
How about you double down and it's like it's a Willy Wonka style character who's giving out tickets to win the first tour of his new escape room that he's built in his Megorium of Emporiums. And he's a wacky guy, and then you do the escape room, and you realize as you do it that you lose. Good day, sir.
Yeah, it feels like it could work for kids.
Could work for kids.
I never even thought about adding children to this equation.
There's a thing I've noticed recently, because I saw 2 pieces of media do this at the same time. And this is always the trouble with when you're trying to have like puzzles and things in a movie, is that often writers are not puzzle writers. And they will write really simple puzzles, and then they'll have characters be really like, how do I solve this? How do I solve this puzzle? Right? I've seen 2 separate things recently in media where a mythologically intelligent character is given a riddle to solve, and me, being a human being who has heard riddles before, is like, all right, the answer's this.
What are these things? What have you been
One of them
watching?
was in God of War Ragnarok.
Oh, okay.
Where the person it is still played for comedy a little bit, but is meant to be the smartest man alive, is given that classic riddle where the answer is what gets bigger the more you take away from it.
Oh, okay.
The answer is it's a hole. Everybody knows this. Everyone who's ever done a puzzle knows this. And it's like this long drawn out thing for multiple scenes of him being like, oh, well, maybe it could it be dignity? Dignity, you have a lot of dignity, and then you take things away from people. They become more, they're like, no, that doesn't work. Oh, what's going on? And it just goes on, and it's this ridiculous thing, and it's like, we know the solution to this riddle because I've done a riddle in my life. Right? And then the other one was from maybe the movie Gods of Egypt, which I saw a clip from where the god of wisdom was asked a riddle by the Sphinx, and this person is the literal god of wisdom itself, and the Sphinx is like, I am always coming, but I never arrive. I'm every man's hope, but no one can see me, and and it's just like, good,
Gotcha.
it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. It's very obviously tomorrow. And the god of wisdom is like, you are a world of order. That is what you are. Every man wishes for a world of order. And then the other god's like, good work. And then the Sphinx attacks him, and then eventually he's like, no, wait, you are tomorrow. And it's really tense. And it's like, everybody watching it who's ever done a riddle is like, yes, tomorrow.
Alternatively, as we've seen again by watching these sitcoms, they come up with things that are so obtuse, and characters manage to bizarrely fumble their way into it by seemingly just random chance, and they are absolute nonsense. Like the 20-letter anagrams and things like that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so it's really hard to find a balance in between, right? Where your character, where your audience is solving it
and they just outright make
appropriately.
them bad as well.
Yes, that's
Like
also
the one
true.
saying, oh no, you've got to know everything about Einstein and his birth and death and greatest works in order to be able to figure out the code when we just show you a picture of Einstein.
Yes, that's a classic escape room mistake. For people who haven't watched our Patreon content, there's a classic escape room mistake of thinking that like people who are smart and have general knowledge or a PhD in physics will be better at an escape room because it will test for those things. Like it tests for whether people know a bunch of stuff. He's like, no, it doesn't. They very explicitly don't. But yeah, fundamentally that happens all the time. So I could just picture a movie escape room that actually is focusing on those kind of actual, like, hey, can you do puzzles and solve stuff?
Yeah.
Would just be like, you know, the answer will it'll be like, here's a box that beeps, and it beeps one more time every single, or like it's beeping in a row and it goes like beep 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 beep. It's like, oh, 3121, that's the code. And that'll be the answer. And instead someone will be like, it beeps every time a human being breathes, and it's meant to represent the breath of life, and it just goes on, and you'll be like, come on guys, just solve the puzzle.
Okay. How about the movie where they do indeed, the FBI is trying to commission someone to essentially run an escape room test facility for them. They can still run it like a normal business or whatever, but it will be used to test recruits, and they are trying to build puzzles and come up with puzzle ideas that are going to make sense and that are going to be able to test people. And so we have to see them go through all of these horrible, horrible puzzle ideas.
It gets a little bit, here you go, here's how you do it. So recently, as part of a fun way to kind of catch up on movies I've never seen, I watched some movies with my family. One of them was 3 Days of the Condor. And 3 Days of the Condor, here are some mild spoilers for it, involves someone who happens upon information that is being kept secret by people.
Okay.
And then dealing with the fallout of this. And I don't mind the idea of like someone working for the FBI needing to come up with puzzles that would test FBI types of skills, and so decides to like find stuff that correlates to information on a database somewhere that they get access to, and they end up basically like inadvertently using one of these puzzles to reveal a thing that some member of the FBI is like, oh no, I'd been doing this shady stuff, and you've kind of uncovered it. Like you found some codes that I had put in there, and now you've uncovered this conspiracy, and then they deal with that. And like during the solving of this room, they're realizing implications of what these codes are. Where did you find these codes? Oh, database, and I put them in because I figured if you can crack the code that the FBI is already using, well, then you're good enough to be an FBI code breaker. And then it ends up, revealing a big classic crazy conspiracy, and then people are trying to deal with that.
I do worry the escape room won't be important enough to the story if we do that.
Escape room's key to the story. That's where all the puzzles are. I'm just putting ideas out there.
I know. That's fine. I'm allowed to question ideas.
No. Everyone knows that the first part of brainstorming is that any ideas I put out are unassailable. But yeah, you can do big conspiracies and puzzles and codes.
Yeah, but wait. So let me clarify that again.
Good luck.
So someone who works for the FBI needs to come up with a training program. And so they take some existing FBI codes and say, if you can solve these, you're good enough for this.
But they're not meant to be.
It's also not yet an escape room.
They're building the escape room.
I don't know if you'd put real stuff in an escape room.
No, you probably wouldn't. They get a bunch of people to do the escape room, and one of them's a spy. One of them's a plant. And they catch him, Departed style.
And then, of course, there is Hallmark rom-com.
And then there's Hallmark rom-com.
Always
a person
viable.
is a small town escape room owner, and their escape room is going to get shut down by the bank. So they have to teach the banker the love of puzzles. But in doing so, they teach him about the love of Jennifer. Her name's Jennifer, and she teaches the bank to love her. That's the Hallmark movie. It's two warring escape rooms constantly trying to up each other by building bigger and better escapes until eventually they realize the only thing they can't escape from is their love for each other.
How would you depict the escape rooms themselves in this? Because if you do focus on owners and existing escape rooms, then it would just be random tourists coming in and doing the same escape room over and over again.
True.
And I'm not saying that can't be done, but is that what your thought is? That's just a love story, but every now and again you see him sitting behind a desk watching people on a monitor fail at puzzles?
You're right. That wouldn't be so compelling as an escape room movie. That's the background, but the movie itself has one person playing that escape room and realizing that the real escape were the friends they made along the way.
Yeah. So if it were romance of one person is escape room owner, the other person has to be doing the escape room.
True.
But then that feels like you'd want them on their own, and you can't have that. That's not good
No,
for
they're
an escape
there.
room.
I know how a romance movie works.
Mhm.
They're there with their fiance, who they
Ugh.
realize as they do the escape room that they're not built for each other and that they don't work in the same way. I'm not saying this is good. I'm saying this is what it would be.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's also such a one-off interaction. They can't fall in love after 1 hour of talking to each other via a speaker.
Yeah, they can. It's a romance
Nah.
movie.
No, that's not. It's not how they go. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that way. It's what people think it happens, but it doesn't. They're all long, slow burns.
Hmm.
They take months. You need multiple public holidays to have happened. Otherwise, it's
You're
not
right,
real
you're right.
love.
Well, luckily there's 3 different escape rooms at this facility, so they get to do all 3. And they bring a different person, and they learn about.
God.
They come back every year, and this person sees them and the changes in their life every year, and how they're solving puzzles, and then and falls in love.
That, I think, could be viable as a romantic drama.
Yeah, yes, we're finding it, everybody. Get out of here, FBI.
I love my FBI needing to design puzzles that work for people. I reckon there is a lot of fun in showing people trying to make puzzles and going through ones that are too stupid or too impossible or too things that seem completely rational, but then it turns out most of the public is just not on the same wavelength as you. I think there are fun things that could be depicted in that.
Yeah, but now we've got someone coming back to the same escape room location multiple times, and we see the snippets of their life and grow to know and love them as we see how their life changes between visits.
It's not impossible. I think it could work. And then they could invite them into the back room where the new one is being roomed, and they can test puzzles. Apparently, I really want puzzle testing to be a thing.
They build puzzles together, and the person is trying to like screw it in, and the other person comes up behind them and puts their arms around and says, "No, do it like this," and helps them screw the puzzle in. This is how I woo
So you hate
right?
these movies.
I've never watched these movies.
I take them seriously.
You've never watched these movies.
And yet I still show a healthy level of respect for them.
You don't respect my building a puzzle together idea? How dare you?
They're not obviously they're corny, but they're their own brand of corny. They're not leaning into corny. They just happen to be relaxingly, warmly corny.
All right, that's fair.
How good would a person, what level of skill should this person have in escape rooms? Obviously, as their life changes throughout all these rooms, how well they do is going to vary.
I don't think they can do that well. I don't think you want them to just
Are you going to
come in
respect a
and blitz
love interest who's dumb, though?
No, I don't think they should be dumb. I don't think they should be sitting there being like, what? Morse code? As in, it's got more S's and E's than any other code?
Right.
Right, they're not going to be like that.
Okay.
You know, like me. But also, I think at first, when they first appear with their fiance, and we realize that they're not suited for each other, it's got to be because they have to enjoy the puzzles. They've got to care about them and want to do them, and their partner has to be like, "This is dumb. I don't understand." Sure, I guess put the key in that. Woo, and he's like, "Isn't this cool? There's a second room." She's like, "Oh, a second room? I have to do more escape room. All right, fine." Boys and their puzzles. You know, they've got to be clearly ill-suited based on enthusiasm for what they're doing.
I vote for a new dynamic in here.
All right, let's take it back. New dynamic.
Same story, new dynamic.
What's the new dynamic?
Couple comes in. He's going to propose to her at this escape room. It fails. It turns into a miserable disaster. She storms out. He blames the escape room for not being good enough.
He thinks the escape room ruined the proposal.
Yeah, and the person who is working there, the employee, they, never really thought about it. They don't do it. This is just a job. And over time, they realize, you're right, this place is shoddy.
So it is a bad escape room.
They need to fix this.
I love it.
And
it starts off what? Like their idea is, I'm going to fix it up so you can come back and try again.
Exactly, so that your relationship can be repaired.
Yeah,
we can make up for you and not leave this a sorry sad memory.
That's great.
But, and that gives them excuse to be testing things, which apparently is the element I insist upon.
But amazing, and now they almost work together to make stuff. Because it's like, I want this to be, like, I can make it even more suited to your proposal.
And it can have to take a long amount of time because they have to work together. They got to figure things out. They got to test it with other members of the public. And then he has to be able to go away and she has to say, all right, You go away, it's secret from now. So, yeah, that's your time passing element as well.
Yeah, nice.
There's lots of it.
Is there a scene where she's like trying to tailor it so she to him and his relationship, so she ends up like Facebook stalking them for a little bit and learns more about them?
Possibly. How do you draw the line between not having like I don't want my rom-com to have toxic people.
Oh, okay.
I know that's just what most media is, but we don't have to lean into that. Again, that's what I say. Healthy respect. These things can be good. A lot of people just don't treat them like they can.
Sure. All right. So then he goes away because she needs to work on the rest of the room so that he won't be able to just solve everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in that period?
Good question. We need to know what's going on in her life.
She...
So at the moment, she's got nothing.
She's got that's what's going on in her life. She's got
no.
nothing.
She's got to have something. But anyway, there's got to be some sort of subplot revolving around her. Like, why is she working at this dumb escape room? And then how does she get the power to change things?
Dani, I've learned something from indie games and movies. If you need to give someone any kind of backstory, just give their dad their mum dementia, and that's it. Now we're done. We're done.
Yep,
we've done all of the emotional stuff that we need.
It's true.
They get home and they say, "Oh, yes, mum. Have you eaten yet? Oh, who are you? I'm your daughter, mum." And now it's
true.
We're
That's all
in.
You need for these sorts of things. So I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, good. Let's not do that.
Because I hate it. So yeah, what could be happening? Like, she is just a person working at an escape room. It doesn't, and then suddenly develops the power to change it and overhaul it and everything. She can't have owned it in the beginning, because I don't believe that.
Often when you get those sorts of situations, it's because like they've inherited the business from someone else.
But or just that they are a random employee of a random chain, and even they don't realize how much they can love puzzles.
Yeah, true. So what does that mean? Why do they? What needs to be going on in their life for this?
So I think we need to know a little bit more about who does own this escape room.
Now, it's not a good escape room, so it can't be someone who cares.
No.
It has to be owned by just a chain.
Yeah, it could well be someone that the owner is away, goes away, doesn't have much to do with it, and she just takes the opportunity to say, "Oh, I know this is a terrible idea as an employee, but I'm going to do it anyway."
Yeah, someone who owns like a whole chain of things. Maybe they own a hotel nearby, and they just also own this. And she gets the job, and they're like, just whatever. I bought these things. They'll run themselves. Go for it.
And then the boss is going to return and try to shut everything down while the dude is in there with his fiancée again.
During, just in the middle, just shut this down, kick those people out.
Yeah, like when they've been testing all of their new room ideas on random townsfolk, it's been getting great reviews, and suddenly everything's going really well for them, and the owner is made aware of this new improvement. And they go, "What? Changes?"
But here's the question, why would they not like the improvements? What is it about that? Like, what is it about the change in business that makes them now worried? I assume
our lead lady has to bluff as the owner while this is happening.
And this person just takes personal offense to being bluffed as?
Well, they think their business is literally being stolen out from under them by someone who's claiming, "Yep, this is my escape room. I own it.
Oh, yeah.
I always have."
They've been calling suppliers to get
all
things
that sort
in.
of thing, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so let's review some dynamics. We've definitely gotten into the movie that we're pitching right now.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
So we're pretty solid. We don't need to think about the FBI anymore.
Sadly.
We're locked in. So let's review. We have a person who is like a hotelier, owns stuff in town, and has this little escape room, probably a couple of like bought escape rooms that don't work very well. They've hired someone who has taken the job, but is not that into it as of now.
They don't really get the whole thing yet.
Then a person arrives and has a failed proposal that goes wrong because the escape room itself kind of is bad. Not really goes wrong because their relationship's fundamentally doomed.
Sure.
But
that's why they lose their temper with each other.
Yeah, and that's what they blame it on. And then this person's like, oh, I'm so sorry, let me make it up to you. And they're talking, and she kind of realizes, oh, well, hey, if the escape room is the problem, why don't we make it better so that you can try this again? And he sort of says a bunch of like, well, you could have done this, you could have done that. And she realizes, and then they work together. They decide, why don't we work on this together and make it really special?
Maybe he takes her to a good escape room out of town.
Ooh, he takes her to a good escape room out of town, where she experiences the joy of puzzles. She's like, I want to do this. I want to make something good.
And he's already done this one, so he's just sitting back in the background,
watching,
chuckling at her.
Yeah, that's a classic rom-com dynamic. Yeah. Where one person knows how to do the thing and mocks the other person for not being able to do it. Classic.
Non-toxically, please.
Super just the most toxic guy. And so then she's like, okay, wow, you're right. This is cool. Let's make something. Let's do something real. I wanna help. Let's do this. And he's like, are you allowed to do that? And she says, what the owner doesn't know won't hurt them.
She could basically have bluffed as the owner to him as well.
True.
It's a little toxic, so she can admit it to him early on. But they start getting into this while she has just said, no, I'm totally the owner. Don't insult my rooms.
So now they're working on the room
Otherwise,
together.
he wouldn't care to go to such efforts.
True. So now they're working together on the room and falling in love. Even though they don't know it yet, but they're falling in love. So, and we need to now answer the questions of...
So they build it. She goes, great, ready to go. He says, no, you've got a play test. And so that's when, for ages and ages and ages, they play test. And all of these stupid morons with ugly faces and big butts and their butt smells come in to do the rooms. And they have to fix it. Sometimes they're just laughing at people, making terrible decisions.
Yeah, sometimes things get broken.
Yep.
They got to change the parts.
That's the chaotic work part of the movie.
And then the owner basically comes in to threaten, I'm going to shut this whole thing down. But why? But why owner want shut down? Why owner not say good?
How much of their own money have they been putting into things versus business money?
Oh, yeah. Maybe they're probably investing a bunch of business money.
Yeah. So she's essentially frauding him.
And he's like, what are you talking about? It was perfectly fine before. And she's like, no, it wasn't like, it wasn't good. And he says, it doesn't matter if it's good. It was bringing in money. Who cares about puzzles? I hate puzzles.
So she's clearly financially in the wrong, but who cares about capitalism? She was making art.
But now she's fired.
Okay.
And
how do we fix the situation?
And now Randall's
how does it all revolve? Also, what happens with the fiance? Why has their relationship managed to be at proposal point at the beginning, but incendiary enough to cause stormouts and fights? But then throughout all of this, they are still together or together again, that sort of thing. How does their relationship?
She's been keeping terrible secrets. And he, through a series of flashbacks where we see them describing how to interpret clues in an escape room, he interprets the clues of his real life to realize that she's been cheating on him with his best friend.
She has to
John.
do it. Our main character girl has to do it because it comes from an idea of, no, this is why you have to do escape rooms in a team because some people just have blind spots for certain things.
Yes, he's got a blind. And she's now looking at all the clues. And we hear his explanations to her of how to interpret clues.
Yeah.
And she interprets the clues of his life and proves to herself at least
Great.
that the fiancé is cheating on him.
Okay, we can make that work.
Yep.
Now, how do we deal with this boss situation? The last little obstacle.
Yeah. She's fired and they need to. Now here's the thing. As well, if now we deal with their relationship is bad, does he now not believe her? And then they go to do the room and propose anyway. And she has to be like, no, I need to get in there and tell him not to propose. And tries to usurp the escape room experience and put in clues and proof that she's...
Oh, that's horrible.
It's horrible. I'm trying to bring my story threads together, Danny.
So you were under the impression that...
He's got to still want to do the room.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. There's to the time scale of things happening.
Yeah, he's still got to do the room. So yeah, there has to be something, some fail-safes or
fancy tech that they've put in there and things that she can break her way in to say something. But
meanwhile, the hotel guy has
the problem is that the stakes aren't 100% there because you can break off an engagement.
No. Once you get engaged, you get that's a wedding.
So I don't think that the desperation element is actually that strong.
That's fair. Also, the boss surely has to start meeting people in town who start complimenting him on the amazing escape room, and he has to realize the joy of puzzles.
Oh, you want him to have a happy?
Yeah, he has to get on board eventually. We don't need to kill him.
No, of course not. But
and everyone knows the only two ways you can end up as a character in a movie are either happy or dead.
But what's to stop him from then just saying, yeah, great, win-win, I've got good puzzles and money now?
I mean, that's a very good point.
Having someone end up discovering the joy of puzzles doesn't make them nicer to their employees who defrauded them.
That's true. All right, so what does happen with him? He puts her in prison for fraud.
It feels like the cliche answer would be she gets to start her own room, and none of the stuff that he had put in his is stuff that she then can't also use and create. She can still come up with all of these new things and potentially take some of that stuff because, hey, she never signed anything saying that her IP belonged to them, but you don't even need to have that. It can just be she is going to start her own.
Okay, so is that what happens? Is that in the start of the third act, she goes and starts her own escape room?
No. That's a full-on last 10 minutes of the movie.
That's how it ends. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
And then it doesn't matter what he does. We know that she is going to outcompete him because he clearly doesn't know anything about how to repair things or how to test things or any of that sort of stuff.
All right, fair. Okay, so he's left with this squalor of his falling apart escape room.
Exactly.
When she starts a new room.
Yeah, so that's an easy way to sort of hand wave what's going on with him. Just the implication that he will not stay successful, she will.
Sure. Okay, that's fine. That's what happens to him. What happens to the fiancé?
No.
Dies in a fire. Dies in a fire and it explodes.
One death per movie.
That's it.
Okay, so yeah, I'm now back to again. How do we not have them get engaged? How is she going to give these messages across without being a psychopath?
True. I think she has to plant similar types of clues.
Planting it feels so sinister, don't you think?
Yeah, hugely. But to make him realize when the blinders are off and he's trying to just do the escape room. Realize all the stuff he's been ignoring in their relationship, and see what it means, and then be like, "Oh, whoa, this is us. Oh no, we're never going to work."
But if the whole point is that it's a blind spot for him, it needs to be something.
Yeah, so she's putting it in the escape room in a new context. So he's like, "Oh, it looks like Captain McGillicuddy's treasure doesn't share any interest with Captain McGillicuddy. Maybe it's not so much a treasure at all."
But I don't really why wouldn't she just tell him?
Yeah, she probably would. So she just tells him, and then he goes thanks, and then breaks up with his fiancée. It's not a very interesting ending. Unless the interest is in her finding out. And and then you can just have her tell him quickly, and then he believes her.
Yeah, but I feel like that's not a. Like I said, I don't think that's necessarily the best of stakes because that could happen anytime over the next year.
It could, I suppose.
There is nothing locking him into anything. It's not like they're conducting a blood bond.
So what's then? I mean, unless you just move it up so that they've already gotten engaged in the room and now they're
getting married in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, a wedding is too late. I don't feel like I don't feel like there is a success in going up to someone on their wedding day and saying, "Hey, the person you are marrying today has been cheating on you." I don't know if that stops the wedding.
I think it stops the wedding.
I don't think that stops the wedding.
They're just going to be like, well, I'll put the money in. I'll get married anyway and see how it goes.
I think that people will get caught in that sort of momentum where the other stuff just sort of blanks. It doesn't matter. You can't think about other stuff right now. There is a wedding going on. Oh my God, there is so much happening right now. But also, too, under what circumstances do you believe it?
When the evidence
This
is
is
there.
nonsense.
When the puzzles are there.
Yeah, and I don't think having that all happen during one wedding, I don't think that's enough to steer your brain away from it and to cancel a wedding. A cancelling of a wedding is, again, a big deal.
Yeah, but it's a big deal.
And again, they will honestly go through with it and then think, okay, look, I'll think about this later. We can worry about like annulling or whatever if there's anything there. But you're not going to cause that. Like, that's going to uphold your entire life for a while if you cancel a wedding on the day of a wedding.
True.
That's a lot.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
more
that's
than
true.
people think, I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, in that case, we've set it up so that if she tells him before the wedding, that's not enough stakes.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's right before the wedding, that's too much stakes. So I guess she doesn't tell him, and nothing happens.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Hmm.
Like, just because I found two problems doesn't mean we have to pick one of them because the alternative is hard. Like, no, it just means, no, they are, so far, all bad. We've got to keep searching for a good one. It also doesn't need to be cheating.
No, not at all. But what's a good? In fact, cheating's not fun. What's a good sort of secret to find out that ruins this relationship? She's been a tiger wearing a human costume the whole time.
I mean, you can't have it be overly light either, because otherwise it wouldn't end anything, and they would still have a relationship.
She's been trying to do fraud the whole time. She's been doing real fraud to him.
a little on the sad side. He's probably not going to want to date for a while after that. That's probably inevitable. That's okay. I don't mind that. I don't mind being that's okay. We'll give it some time and then we'll see if we can be romantic. That's a fine ending.
And then she goes off to run her escape room, and then 6 months later he walks in the door. And it goes ka-ting, and she looks up and sees him, and then that's the end of and then credits roll. And that's the end of the movie.
Something like that. But what gets her away? I mean, look, their relationship clearly is a little bit off. But you don't want it to just be some amicable incompatibility.
No, that's why it's fraud.
Yeah.
That's why you have her do fraud instead.
So what do you say? She's just like embezzling from his personal accounts?
She's been stealing from him the entire time.
And doing what?
Buying diamonds.
Well, that's just a shopping addiction thing. That can be, people work those out in relationships all the time. You don't stop falling in love with someone.
Blood diamonds. The entire time, his backstory has been that he had an escape room business that failed, and he never understood why. And it turns out that she ruined it because she hates puzzles that much. That she got him shut down by the government.
Has she just been lying about it the whole time, pretending she loves it?
She pretends that she cares, but actually she hates it, and she couldn't be an escape room wife, and so she ruined his dreams before they could even get off the ground.
So then why is she in this relationship?
He's the heir to the Vanderbilt fortune.
So she just doesn't like him. She just
doesn't
wants money.
Doesn't like him. Just wants money.
Yeah.
He never knew that because he thought she liked puzzles.
Look, I'm okay with the idea of her not liking puzzles, and it turns out, actually, if you look for it, she kind of sabotaged that room at the start as well a little bit. She did not want this to happen.
Yeah, true.
I don't mind that being an element of it. That feels like it's she doesn't want to be in this relationship, has been trying to get away from it for whatever reason, but feels pushed into it. So how much can it just be, oh no, she hasn't, like, main character hasn't discovered something terrible that she's been doing, is just spotting all of the signs of, no, she is leaving, she is checked out. Hell, she might be planning to run.
That's fair. Although then you end up with a rom-com Indiana Jones problem. If you didn't do anything, the relationship would have ended anyway.
That's true, unless for whatever reason them getting engaged would be enough to keep her staying here.
She only wanted to marry him because he has the Ark of the Covenant.
Is there something about, like, no, she wants to go off, she's not interested in any of this, but she is very afraid of growing old alone and everything. And quite frankly, if she gets married, she will put all of her own things aside because that scares her a lot.
Ah, so then you prove that that's what she's doing. You show the science, and then out of compassion, he's like, no, let's not get married. Do this stuff instead. And she ends up with somebody else, some other side character who loves all the boring stuff that she loves.
She doesn't need love. Her lesson is that she doesn't want love.
Okay, fair.
Like, that's not that sort of love anyway. And that she, needs to learn elsewise. She just thinks that she's afraid of it. And yes, she's afraid of growing old alone and therefore thinks that she needs to latch onto a relationship where she doesn't really love the person or anything about them for that. Like, it's fine, but she's just put herself into that sort of horrible stress mental state where she thinks that's something she needs. But she needs to be assured that she won't grow old and alone just if she doesn't get married and does the things that she likes.
Fair enough.
I think that can work.
Done.
That's not toxic.
And then everybody ends up happy.
Great.
Everybody happy.
Except for the hotelier.
Doesn't deserve happiness.
Exactly. There's got to be someone who doesn't deserve happiness. You can't be happy for everyone. That's unsatisfying. One death per movie.
One death per movie. He gets hit by a bus.
All right, beautiful.
All right, that's our movie.
Next year, write it.
Yeah, that's what we'll be doing all next year. We'll write this
Beautiful.
script, and you'll see a new Hallmark movie next year because they film it as we write, starring Vic Michaelis as Puzzly Georgina, the puzzle maker.
Beautiful.
And
I don't want to cast it. I hate fan casts.
And that sexy snowman from this year playing the puzzle loving guy.
What was it called? It had a horrible name.
I don't know. Frosty the naked
it was Hot
man.
Frosty, wasn't
Hot
it?
Frosty.
The thing that sounds so
We'll get the guy from Hot
unappealingly
Frosty
Urban Dictionary
to be the main puzzle solver. He can go from being a baby in the body of a man to a puzzle genius. His wife is played by a young Selma Blair, brought back, put into cryostasis in 1998, and then brought to the present to play that role.
Sure.
And
they're very young, these characters, I see.
And the escape room owner, who is evil in the end.
Oh, the hotelier.
He is a live-action version of the guy who runs the school for animals in Over the Garden Wall.
I don't remember what.
He's just an old man who runs a school for animals, and he's sad that they're playing music instead of learning maths.
Ah, yeah, I've forgotten what he looks like.
And there we go, everybody. I've cast the movie.
All right, perfect. I still think she needs...
And Austin Butler can be in it too.
I still think our main character needs a little bit more going on in their life.
But
that's okay.
Their mother has
that's
dementia.
All side story. Yay!
We've done it. It's a movie. All right, thank you everybody for listening. That's our escape room, whatever that was. That's the movie that we're gonna write.
Christmas movie discussion.
Now, will we? If you ever ask us how the process of writing it is going, how dare you?
Assume a 0.
We're not writing it.
I can totally write
this.
it.
All right, we're writing it. Welcome to our movie, and it's called.
Well, judging by what we found on IMDb, I think we just have to literally call it Escape Room, and that's it.
It's called Smart Frosty. All right,
No.
thanks, everybody.
No. There is no Christmas involved in this. I mean, there could be, but it's not.
It's
the
a
thing.
Christmas movie.
No.
It's called.
It's a multi-holiday fest.
It's called. It's called Puzzle Box of My Heart. It's called Love and Other Puzzles. It's called The Escape Room, The Chef, His Wife, and Some Puzzles.
No, let's not just try to come up with something the way we come up with escape room names. Like, what are we trying to say in this movie?
We're trying to say that if you like puzzles, you should be with someone who likes puzzles.
I guess that's a little bit like what we're trying to say. The pieces fit.
The pieces fit. And there's no escape rooms. They're all just doing jigsaw puzzles the entire time. Thank you, everybody, for listening to The Pieces
That's
Fit.
why they're so mad at the room in the beginning.
To episode 1 of The Pieces Fit podcast, where we come up with this movie episode by episode, scene by scene, live. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is just an episode to get us through to, next season. It's just a fun bonus, so I hope you enjoyed it.
If you want, if you've got any other pretty chill, low effort ideas for things we can do for bonus episodes over the holidays, because this is our summer holiday, then let us know. Running short on bonus content idea.
True. All right, thank you, buddy, and we'll see you next time. Bye.